is the moment you're going to work 5 times more, 10 times more.
Yeah.
And he ends up helping lots of people, and even said, Carlo, it's easy to give, because I thought helping, maybe it's giving money away. And he actually said, Carlo, it's very easy to open your wallet or write a check, anybody can do that. But listening to somebody that needs a friend to listen and understand, and give the right word and the right piece of advice, that's a friend, not the one that opens the wallet and gives you £1,000. And then again I was struck again, and I thought, okay, let me take this in. These are wise words, and it goes perfectly well with what you're saying, because you can do whatever you want, but the most beautiful things in the world is sharing and making a difference. And this is what you guys are doing, and that's why I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the key thing about the drug education is that, as you say, standing there is sort of. Just giving that. Dave's a very good lecturer, and all the lecturers that have come up through are good lecturers. But the main thing is that the information empowers the kids. You're not telling them this, telling them that, making them wrong, giving them horror stories. You're giving them the cold hard facts, and the follow-up surveys indicate that it gets through.
Yeah, when you give them all out a little leaflet, a piece of paper to fill out, and they always say, "Oh, it was really good. Now I can tell all my friends. I've learned things I didn't know before." It's really nice to read the kids' stories, isn't it, afterwards? You feel you feel really nice, you feel really good.
When was it the first time that you, Dave, jumped on this project? How long ago was it?
Oh my God,
2 years?
About 2 years, yeah. About 2 years in total, yeah. I was doing it kind of like that before, but when me and Noel went out, God, when was it when we went out? When you first, you went out to the schools and stuff?
That was over 2 years ago, the very first time.
Oh
but
my
when we went out
God.
properly, it was about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, how was the very first time you did that? Because I assume that, yes, I know you're a very talented performer. You've been out there, you're a seasoned musician, artist, so you know how to entertain a crowd. So how was actually entertaining a crowd and doing what you do, and you do very well, playing music like the listeners have just listened to the track you just played. By the way, what was the name of the track you just played?
That's called It Rains.
Okay.
It's dedicated to England.
Fantastic track, full of energy. But how was it for you to mix that with
I tell you, I think what you said.
message?
I tell you what was really interesting. This was what it was. When I first got into doing the lecture, I started messing around and having a laugh. Do you remember, Noel? And then as I progressed, I realised, because I've always been into helping and stuff, and wanting people to understand things better and guiding kids, blah, blah, blah. But when I got into it, I was being the entertainer, but I wasn't into the data and getting the data across to the kids. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
So I was messing about a bit, and they were getting it, and eventually I went, oh my God, this is really important. It's not, even though I understood it was important, I was being the entertainer to start with, and then as I got a grasp of what I was doing, I got a better concept of the data and how it works and so on, and how the kids were receiving it. Then I kept up the humour and the messing around and the comedy and so forth, because that's what keeps their attention, right? But it became important to me that they got the data for real. And that is kind of how it evolved for me. I started off by saying, oh, this is great, it's going to be a bunch of kids, we'll all mess around. And I wanted to remember when I wrote on the board and I couldn't spell the words. I was like, all right, so that's some cannabis. They've got 2 N's? Okay, is it spelling class next? You're just like...
Stimulation.
Was it stimulation? The word stimulation I couldn't spell. So, yes, anyway, Carlo, that was me. But I became a little bit more serious, even though, I kept the comedy up. Do you know what I mean? I'm serious about getting the data across, but I'm not going to be serious about how I do it.
Okay.
Right.
Well, you've got this talent anyway, and you are now using it to help people. Well, let's put it this way. I believe that music helps anyway.
Yeah,
it sends a message.
Yeah.
I was with an artist the other day who's being featured at Tom Robinson's BBC Radio 6 show, and he was saying, there are lots of love songs, right? An endless amount of love songs.
Yeah.
Well, he goes, it means that we need them. Because there are so many love songs and there's never enough of them. There's always a new love song which is going to drive yet another message, and it goes right there. So the power music, I know, that by itself, you were doing that thing which is magic, I believe. But now you're blending it with something that actually you're giving a message, and you're telling people, wait, if you are, going through this rusty road, go there.
Carlo, you should have been at a school when we remember we went to that all
I'll pass
girls.
the mic to you. You guys can talk a little bit.
Do you remember when we went to that school? Was it Hammersmith one? And all those girls, like saying "Ain't No Sunshine," and the whole 30 or 40 girls with really good voices all joined in I was going. You know, ain't no sun. There was a whole chorus of "Ain't No Sunshine" occurred. I was like, oh, don't! I'm getting all like it was sweet, wasn't it?
It was good. It was fun.
Yeah.
So, but the key thing is getting the message across. If you save one life in that room, you've done your job.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully, we'll do a few more than that. But yeah, I mean, the artist. You know, going back to the music industry, the artist is very vulnerable. Very vulnerable, you know, and as I say, in that era, I came up through Warner's, then I was with Warwick, and then I with a couple of indie producers and a few other things, and then it was kind of...
Sorry, I was going to say, but you saw Hendrix, didn't you, the day he died?
Well, I knew Jimmy, but we knew Jimmy because we hang around the Earls Court scene together, but he kind of... Yeah, I did see him the day, so in Kensington Market.
I mean, that's an unfortunately legendary thing to have done, isn't it? It's really sad. I mean, because, like, sorry to interrupt, but with the whole musical thing, Hendrix was going to do jazz stuff, he was getting into orchestral stuff, he wanted to do a project with Miles Davis. Yeah. You know what I mean? If he was around, he'd be like the B.B. King, come jazz guy, come experimental guy. You know, he would be still inspiring people to this day, you know?
But unfortunately...
But he's gone, man, you know?
But he's gone, and it brings us back around to full circle to drugs, because a lot of those artists are vulnerable. You know, very few of them are really difficult. The managers are the ones that were difficult to deal with. Not the artists, you know. But very few of them, most of them were really, I couldn't really say a bad word about any of the ones I met in that era. They were all sort of nice guys. But what happens, you know, you come off a stage, you've been in front of maybe 20,000 people.
Yes.
And you've got to try and come down from that.
Yeah,
and then you've got all the other pressures and attacks. And it's very easy to seek a form of escapism or to match the high you've just had from that kind of response.
That's it.
And they're very vulnerable to the drug dealers who are in every dressing room at every venue they hang around. So it was sad, and that's why the rehabilitation is very important. You know, we do a lot of rehab around 46 countries now, I think, around the world. The current total is don't use any drugs to get them off, and we've got a 70% success rate. But really, the key is effective education. You know, I mean, if one of those kids in the classroom was the next Hendrix, and he took that information on board, that guy's going to have a long career.
Yeah.
And if we look at some of the huge talents that were blighted because of narcotics, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, the list just goes on and on and on and on. All of them prodigious talents.
Yeah.
You know, that's the sad thing. It's never the small timers that go. It's like it's the really big talents. And so, you know, that's why we keep doing the drug education, and that's why it's really important. And it's great now we brought Dave in. We're going to bring other musicians in as well, because it puts the message there and also gets across the message from an artist point of view. Dave's seen firsthand what drugs do to other artists, so it reinforces that aspect of the message.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about. Well, I won't go into the stories, but I mean, yeah, I've seen it. It all goes to rack and ruin. It's not. Yeah, well, we all know what we're talking about, don't we? You know, it's the music that counts, not the inability to play music because you're.
It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. So it looks like you want to take it away with a
I wouldn't mind singing a song. Do you fancy I sing like a lovey-dovey thing for you?
Please go ahead. Yes.